Hi everyone, welcome back to SATdecoded.com. Today, if you're joining me, we're going to be talking about an advanced concept relating to table functions. This is an example question, and it is a hard level question, so follow along carefully. The question says f of x equals the absolute value of g of x plus 1. They also give us a table here of various values for x, which are inputs, and various values of g of x, which are outputs or y values. The question reads, if f of 6 equals k, what is f of k? And here are our possible answers, -3, -1, 0, 5, and 8. So since the question is asking f of k, we first need to know what k is before we can even solve what f of k is. So k, they tell us earlier in the question, is equal to f of 6. So first things first, we got to find out what f of 6 is. So let's go ahead and do that now. F of 6 is equal to what? Well, according to our master formula right here, this is our master formula for the f function, it's equal to the absolute value of g of 6 plus 1. So to completely evaluate that, we have to figure out what g of 6 is now. So let's go ahead and do that as well. G of 6. We don't have a master formula for g of 6, but we do have this table for the function of g. So let's identify what our input is. Our input is inside the parentheses, so the 6 is our input. So let's take a look at the input row, that is 6. That gives us an output of -4. So g of 6 is equal to -4, and -4 is our output. So now that we know g of 6 is -4, whenever I see g of 6 again in the question, I can just replace that with -4. So I see g of 6 up here. I'm going to go ahead and do the replacement. I'm going to write -4 instead. So f of 6 is equal to the absolute value. Don't forget the absolute value bars. Is equal to the absolute value of -4 plus 1. So that equals +4 plus 1, which equals 5. A lot of people will stop right here and they get 5. They feel like they've done enough work and they see that 5 is choice D and they jump at that. But be extra careful here. Choice D, 5, is actually a trap answer. It's the wrong answer. It's only an intermediary step. We haven't actually solved the entire question yet because the question is asking what is f of k? But what does 5 represent? 5 represents f of 6. And what does f of 6 represent? It represents k. K alone. But the question is asking f of k, and k is definitely not equal f of k. So don't stop at a middle step and think you got the right answer. You have to go all the way, solve the real question that they're asking, f of k. So what was the purpose of finding out f of 6? We found out f of 6 is equal to 5. Well, the purpose is f of 6 equals 5, so we know k is equal to 5. So why do we care that k is equal to 5? Because we see a k right here, we can just replace it with the 5. So the real question that they're asking is, what is f of 5? So let's go ahead and solve f of 5 now. Again, we got to use our master formula for the function of f. So f of 5, the input is 5, so I'm just going to replace that where the x used to be. So it's going to equal the absolute value. Sorry, this shouldn't be an equal sign. F of 5 is going to equal the absolute value of g of 5 plus 1. So to calculate this, we now need to also calculate what g of 5 is before we can take the absolute value and then add the 1. So g of 5, we don't have a master formula, but we do have this table right here, so let's use this table. Again, let's identify the input. Input for g of 5 is 5, so let's locate that right here. And it says when the input is 5, the output is 7. So g of 5 is equal to 7. So whenever I see g of 5, I can just replace it with the 7. And I see g of 5 right here, so I'm just going to cross that off and replace it with the 7. If you take the absolute value of 7, it's still just +7. So 7 plus 1 is equal to 8. So therefore, f of 5 is equal to 8. And that is our final answer, choice E. they're asking for f of k. We calculated that k is equal to 5. So really, they're asking for f of 5. And we calculated that f of 5 is equal to 8. So that is our final answer. Don't get stopped in the middle. There are many steps. You got to go through every single step until you actually answer what they're asking. And that is the problem with these questions on the SAT. They create all these trap answers for you that might be, answers along the way, but they're not the final answer. They're just intermediary answers. So make sure you reread the question. It says f of k, so actually solve for that question. Good luck, careful reading, and I'll see you in the next video.